Another presidential hopeful is tossing their name into the 2024 White House race, a former UN ambassador and one-time governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley. She's the first to challenge former President Trump for the Republican nomination. She says Republicans have lost the popular vote in 7 out of the last 8 presidential elections, and she's calling for a new generation of leaders to take charge.
China and Russia are on the march. They all think we can be bullied, kicked around. You should know this about me. I don't put up with bullies. And when you kick back, it hurts them more if you're wearing heels. I'm Nikki Haley, and I'm running for president.
Joining us now is Michael Chanel from our partners at The Hill. Michael, thank you so much for talking to us this afternoon. I want to talk about the new generation she refers to. But first, let's talk about timing. So far, she is now the second Republican to announce. Why now?
It's an interesting question, Nichole, especially curious because she is the first major Republican to jump in the race and take on former President Trump, who I will note is her former boss. So when we talk about timing, there are, as with many things in politics, some pros and some cons. On the pro side, this gives her extra time to get to know the voters, introduce her to the voters, and increase that base of support. Nikki Haley is announcing formally her campaign tomorrow in South Carolina. After that, she's headed to New Hampshire and Iowa, which, of course, are 2 states that are known to vote early in the electoral cycle. So this early announcement perhaps gives her more time to meet those voters and build up that support. But, of course, there are always some cons with this, is that now she is former President Trump's only Republican challenger at the moment. That can make her the target of increased attacks from him and his support and some of his allies. It remains to be seen. We're only a couple hours in, but definitely interesting on timing. It's never easy to be the first.
Never easy to be the first. So, Michael, let's talk more about that new generation that Haley says the GOP needs. Is that going to be one of her primary ways of differentiating herself from the former president, who does turn 77 this year?
Look, it's entirely possible. That was a curious line in that announcement video. And it goes to say that's because a lot of things that she has in common with former President Trump, one of them, they actually served in the same administration, both Republicans. So that could be one way that she can differentiate herself from the former president. But the reason why I found that to be particularly interesting is because if we look back to just last week and we remember when Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she gave the GOP response to the State of the Union, she also mentioned that we're in need of a new generation of leadership among Republicans. This could potentially be a theme that we're seeing being used more and more among these younger Republicans as they see former President Trump as their main opponent in winning some of these elections and taking on the highest leadership positions.
All right, last question for you, Michael. You know, so far, Haley has yet to lose a race for public office in her political career. I mean, a lot of people can see that as impressive. How much can that come into play here?
A lot of politicians say this, that, when they run for president, we saw a couple in the 2016 and the 2020 cycle say that they've never lost an election before. Listen, it's a great thing to say on the campaign trail. It's a great thing to include in your stump speech. But at the end of the day, this is an entirely different arena than any other form of electoral politics when you're running for president. The scrutiny is increased. The campaign length is increased. And it's just, you're dealing with a different territory. Nikki Haley ran for South Carolina governor, which was an impressive feat. But now we're talking about the entire country, the entire United States. So in terms of how it could help her and how it could play into the race, it's great for a campaign speech. And I'm sure we'll be hearing her say that a lot throughout her time on the trail. But she's entering an arena like no other in American politics.
Oh, yeah, very different ballgame. All right, Michael, thank you as always. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.